Hello, everyone. A really special guest today, Ben Barlow from Neck Deep, is here with me. And Ben, how are you? And as far as I know, you're just beginning the tour in Europe today in the Netherlands. So, how are you? Excited? Stressed? How do you feel?
No, I feel good. We feel good. Coming over to Europe's always like a little holiday. Things seem to just be a lot nicer and better run out here than they are in the UK. So yeah, we're good. We're feeling good. We just played a few shows in the UK for our anniversary of our EPs. I think that'll be the last ones that we do. So um, kind of happy to not be playing the old songs anymore, but kind of sad as well because they were great shows. So. But generally, all good. Stoked for Europe, and yeah, already having a good time. So
Yeah, you're obviously coming to Poland on October 25, Warsaw. So, everyone come here and see Neck Deep. And do you have some maybe special memories about visiting Poland? Because as far as I know, you played two shows last year. Uh,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it was in well Krakow. When we were in Krakow, that was just a beautiful city. Like
yeah,
we were
yeah, yeah.
really taken away by how beautiful that was. But when we were in Warsaw, our bus broke down for like the third or fourth time on that tour. We had like a terrible, terrible bus, and there was nowhere for us to stay in Warsaw except for student accommodation.
Mhm.
And so we went to this student accommodation and basically woke everybody up. And our I think it was our sound guy had this like huge Polish woman just screaming at him at like 2 in the morning in the hallway, which was kind of funny. But other than that, we've just been taken away by how beautiful it was. And I think when we were in Warsaw too, My Chemical Romance were playing on the same day.
Mhm.
And so everyone's going to want to go and see My Chem, but
Yeah.
I think we only had, a hand, like not very many people turned up to that show, obviously, but the people that did, it was like, you know, it was a great example of like a show doesn't have to be sold out. It doesn't have to be thousands of people. It can literally be like 10, 20, 30 people in a room, just as long as everybody's feeling it. So it was a really, really small show, but everybody that was there was like a diehard Neck Deep fan. So we had a great time. Yeah.
Great.
Hopefully we won't. Hopefully, no. My Chem will stay away from Poland this time, and we'll get
Yeah.
more people in there.
You guys are releasing your self-titled album on January 19 next year, and we're obviously gonna talk about it. But right now, I'd like to say that I've been lately having much fun while listening to the album The Peace and the Panic, while
Nice.
walking just around my town listening to that on the headphones. Great album, really, really great.
Thank you.
And I'm happy that I discovered your band.
Yeah.
I didn't know you in 2017 when it was released, but it's a great record. How do you look at this album from today's perspective after a few years since release?
Yeah, I think Peace and the Panic was when we really started to find our feet as songwriters. I think that's when the songs started to make more sense. Maybe started to just kind of just better written songs. I think with our first two albums, we were still very young. We were still doing a lot of we were still just figuring out how to like write a song properly, like
Hmm.
so I think it was just more defined, much more sort of professional. I think we had a much clearer idea of what we wanted to do. And I also think the message from Life's Now to Get You was very hopeful and very positive. Whereas, I think the message in The Peace and the Panic is that life is strange, life is hard, and it's while you're in those negative moments, you kind of have to live through those negative moments to see through to the positive side of things. So I think it's nice to put it alongside with Life's Now to Get You, which is very hopeful and positive, but then The Peace and the Panic is maybe a more mature approach. I would
Hmm.
say overall, maybe a more mature record. And just yeah, I just think we were better songwriters and we could write catchier songs and maybe honed in what made Neck Deep great. And yeah, we love that record still. You know, In Bloom is still one of our maybe our biggest song. And December. Oh no, December was on Life's Not Out to Get You. Forgive me. But In Bloom, and you know, there's still some other great ones on there. Motion Sickness is one that we still play all the time. And then even like deep cuts on that record, like The Grand Delusion, that I've always loved. I've always loved the lyrics on that. So yeah, we still love that record. I think it's almost kind of like our. I would compare it maybe to like Blink with Blink 182's, like not in terms of success, but in terms of like sound and stuff. I would compare it maybe to like if Life's Not Out to Get You was Enema of the State, then I feel like The Peace and the Panic is like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, kind of like just a more refined sound. I feel like.
Yeah, you mentioned the Grand Delusion. It's definitely my favorite song. I love.
Hey, same, yeah.
Oh, great! I love this guitar riff. It's just perfect. In Bloom, of course, is also great. It's a single, but the Grand Delusion, I think. Well, because you didn't release it as a single, and but while listening to the whole album, it just was like, okay, this is my favorite song on the record for sure.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, same.
Your music videos are always, I would say, so colorful and aesthetic in a way, and there are also, of course, stories happening there. Do you have your own visions while thinking about making the music video, or you leave like everything in, I would say, director's hands?
I would say most of the time it's an idea that we kind of have. I would say generally I think I come up with a lot of the music video stuff just because I write the lyrics. I kind of have an image in my head of like how it should look, kind of thing. And as a kid, I always used to, whenever I used to listen to music, I always used to imagine that like I was in the music video, or like what would the music video to this song be like, you know? So I think that's where like the visual side of it for me comes in. But sometimes we leave it up to the director. Sometimes if maybe we're like, well, we're not sure, you know, this video could be all manner of things. Sometimes it's left up to the director, but for the most part, I would say it's like 70% us, and then like 30% of the time, maybe a director comes up with the idea. But we're working on a video right now that like we've been pretty, or well, two videos at the minute actually that we've all been pretty involved in, and I think it's important, having the visual side of things represented by the band, because the band knows themselves the best. The band knows how they want their visuals to be and how they want to put themselves out to the world. So directors sometimes get a good idea too and have great ideas off the bat, but I think it's always best when you work alongside a director and they make your vision come to life. And that's how we usually do things. We'll usually give them like a kind of rough idea, a loose idea of like kind of how we see things, maybe the general sort of aesthetic, kind of what kind of color grading it'll have, whether we want it to be, greasy and grimy, or whether we want it to be slick and quite clean and professional. And so, yeah, I'd say we work on about 70% us, 30% of the time we leave it up to directors.
Okay, great. I'm curious, how do you remember your childhood and teenage years? Have you been like, I don't know, skateboarding and doing all these, I would say, pop punk things? How do you remember that time?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up a little punk, a little alternative kid, had a goth phase, had a skater phase, punk phase, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, big emo phase. Yeah, I grew up. Well, me and my brother Seb, the bass player in the band, we had an older brother who was like almost 10 years older than us, quite a bit older than us, but he was a massive punk and a big grunge guy and a big death metal guy in the 90s. So we grew up with him, having green hair and a paint in his face and just generally listening to music a lot. His favorite band of all time is Bad Religion, and he would always be playing Bad Religion and Green. I've vividly remember listening to Green Day for the first time, Dookie, and him showing me Dookie. And then he also was big into skateboarding, and he worked at our local indoor skate park. So we were there all the time, and, you know, music that went hand in hand with that too. And from there, we watched a lot of like Kerrang on TV, and would basically just kind of sit in front of the TV watching Kerrang all day, and waiting for something cool to come along. But then I think when bands like Blink and, you know, Green Day, obviously, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, Newfound Glory, when all those bands started coming along, that was like mine and Seb's era of music. You know, that's what we got into. So yeah, it was cool. And then through my teen years, like, yeah, kind of kept it going. I was kind of a class clown in school. Again, tying in with the pop punk thing, I didn't really take too much. I didn't take it very seriously. But yeah, you know, I got on with it. It wasn't like I was the outcast or bullied or anything. I was very blessed in that I went to, like, you know, a pretty chill school. And I think being the class clown, everyone just found it funny. So yeah, I was kind of like a stupid, yeah, I was a clown, really. It was just always had dumb hair, and, like, you know, if we came into school on like a non-uniform day where we got to wear our own clothes, I would be like painting my nails and all that sort of shit. And yeah, I was definitely, me and Seb were definitely kind of like the odd ones out in school. We're from a kind of small town, quite working class. So, you know, most people are into football and sort of dance music or rap and stuff like that. So, you know, it felt good to be the kids that were kind of a little bit different. And in our teen years too, we also had like a really good music scene in our town for a little while. For about 4 or 5 years, there was like a lot of local shows happening, and like bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Enter Shikari, when they first started, were coming through our town a lot. Yeah. And so Seb, again, my older brother, was always in bands, and I was always known as Seb's brother, and that was it. But I used to go to all his shows, and you know, wanted to just play shows, and even if I could just play one, would have been a dream for me. But then when Seb stopped being in bands and started recording bands, and then from there is kind of how Neck Deep started, really, because, you know, he would always have different musicians around at our house, and I got to know them quite well. And I think I just said, well, I want to start a band. If, you know, they were in a hardcore band. It was actually Matt West's band, our guitarist. That's how I met West, and how, you know, we got friendly. And I think I just threw it out there one day of like, well, I want to start a pop punk band. Like, I'll sing if you guys want to play guitar or whatever. And yeah, happened just like that. And then from there, it just took off. So always been a little pop punk kid, always kind of been running around causing trouble and just having fun, and not really taking too much seriously other than music. Like, I got kicked out of university because I just didn't care, and I was doing the band, and I knew that the band was more important than trying to get a degree in media. So I was like, fuck it, yeah, let's do the band. And yeah, just always been a little hood rat, I think, and I think has given me a lot of good inspiration and for the genre. And, you know, I've kind of lived the genre really my whole life. So yeah, it's pretty stereotypical pop punk kid, really.
Yeah, I think I can relate in the way of not having the school on the, you know, first place.
Yeah.
It was never my, first place on my list for the most important thing. And
Yeah.
also, you
Yeah.
mentioned Bring Me the Horizon, one of my favorite bands, by the way. So great to hear that you're been, you
Yeah.
know, participating.
Saw them a few. Yeah, saw them a few times growing up. Those guys in Shikari. Well, actually, Bring Me played a really sick all-day festival in our hometown when I was about 13 or 14. And the two headliners were Bring Me the Horizon and Suicide Silence. And, like, you know, I mean, Suicide Silence, obviously no longer a band, R.I.P. Mitch, but, you know, got to see Mitch Looker and Bring Me the Horizon in one show in Wrexham, which is unheard of, really. So yeah, very lucky to have been able to see them on the early days.
Yeah, Neck Deep has something, I would say, in the guitar riffs, in the melodies that is, I would say, touching me somehow. Isn't important for you guys to, as an artist, to create the music that will, after releasing that, affect, touch people, your fans somehow?
Yeah, definitely. We always want to make music that people will connect to. We like writing fun songs too, you know, songs that like Take Me With You about aliens. Like that's not too deep, but yeah, definitely songs like, you know, In Bloom, December, I Wish You Were Here, 1970 something. Um, you know, all of those songs are quite personal and quite meaningful. And there's some on the new record too, which I hope people relate to. But I think what makes people love music, or what makes you fall in love with music, is when it kind of describes how you feel without you even knowing
Hmm.
that's how you felt. You know, it's like somebody putting your emotions into sound and putting them into words. Um, you know, even if it's not words, sometimes just the guitar tone or a guitar part or
Yeah.
something like that can kind of it can sound how you feel, you know. And I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
what we try and go for. We've always said, you know, it's something that we've been saying a lot recently, but I think it sums up our band, is we want to be the soundtrack to people's best times and, you know, help them through the tough times too. And I think
yeah.
that's what great music does. You know, you put it on when you're sad, and you also put it on when you're feeling good. And, you know, it has good and bad connotations, you know. So that's kind of how we've always felt. You know, a lot of our music's very energetic, but the lyrics are quite meaningful. And so I think that gives it a nice blend. Like you say, even if you're just walking around on a nice day, you can put Neck Deep on, or it's good driving music too. A lot
Yeah.
of people say they listen to Neck Deep when they're driving a long way. So, um, yeah, I think that's definitely something that we try and do for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be the soundtrack for somebody's life, and yeah, it's just a music that has, touching and have a really emotional effect, as you said,
Yeah.
in not only the lyrics but also in the guitar riffs. Let's talk about
Mhm.
the new album a bit, because Neck Deep's self-titled album will be out January 19 next year, and we already have three
Yeah.
singles from it. So, what's next? What are the next steps, and what could your fans expect about this particular record?
Yeah. Um, well, we've got a few more songs to release before it comes out. I think, you know, we might do maybe one more, and then yeah, just release it. And I think, you know, we've got a US tour straight after that, and then we have our biggest ever UK show, or biggest ever headline show we'll ever do, which is in Alexandra Palace in
Hmm.
the UK. There's 10,000 people, which will be crazy. But the record, I think people can expect, you know, it's a pop punk record ultimately, which, you know, our last record was a little bit more expansive. We were kind of testing the waters a little bit with, you know, a different sound. And with this record, we just wanted to write a pop punk record again. With All Distortions Are Intentional, which came out in 2020, we weren't so drawn to writing pop punk as much. You know, we wanted to try something different. And with this record, we felt ready to write pop punk again. So um, I think fans who love us for that sound are going to love it. And then there's also songs on there which are still a little different. You know, I think it won't be like this forever. The single that we just put out is, you know, that's in the kind of In Bloom kind of December range.
Hmm.
Whereas, you know, we've got some stuff too. There's a song called They May Not Mean To, But They Do, which reminds me of like more kind of like a little bit more like classic kind of punk, but not like hardcore punk, more so sort of like the Clash, the Police, that kind of thing. And then I
Hmm.
guess moving on from that, a bit more kind of like, I guess for the more modern reference might be like Blink Neighborhoods, kind of sounds a bit like that. And then, you know, there's some dark and moody songs on there too. So I think for a Neck Deep fan that loves Neck Deep, you're gonna have all the boxes ticked. You know, all the boxes are going to be checked for something that you want out of Neck Deep. But it's mostly a pretty straight down the middle pop punk record. So yeah, I think people who have been craving more pop punk are going to be very happy with it. So,
Okay, great. And do you have in mind something like, I would say, because you have some collaborations in your discography, do you have something like your dream collaboration that you would like to do in the future?
in the future, I would love to collaborate. I would love to. We've had Mark Hoppus on a song, so getting Tom DeLonge on a song would be great. Um, but I think I don't know. I'd like to collaborate with interesting artists, maybe artists that aren't in our world. You know, like
Mhm.
um, I don't know. Maybe there's a rapper out there or something that we could collaborate with, or an electronic artist, maybe. Um, I think the 1975 would be a great one to collaborate on. I think Matty's a secret sort of emo kit. Well, to say it's not even really secret, is it? So yeah, if there's maybe an interesting one on that, something like that could be cool. I think. But yeah, I mean, I think collaborations are often the coolest when they don't feel forced. You
Mhm.
know, when people are just throwing collabs on things just to kind of have the name on there. It's not something
Yeah.
that we like doing. You know, we want to be able to say like we stand on our own and kind of can make a great record off our own merit rather than, because it's got someone famous on it or whatever. So if the right thing came along, we'd be open to it. Like with Sam Carter on Peace and the Panic,
Mhm.
that was just it fit that song and it seemed right for that song, and we'd been chatting a little bit at the time, so it made sense. So it would have to be something like that. I think we wouldn't try and force it. It would be, if the right thing came along, we would do it.
Yeah, sure. That's a great way to do. And being a musician is one thing, but there's also being a listener for every one of us. And I'm curious, how are you listening to music these days? Is it like only streaming, or maybe you have some special rituals when you're at home,
Mm.
for example, listening to
Yeah.
vinyls, collecting CDs, or something like that?
Yeah. I mostly listen on streaming. To be honest, that's the easiest way to listen. But I have like vinyls and stuff of my favorite records. Usually that are bought for me as kind of gifts. And so yeah, I have a lot of Beatles vinyls. I like
Mhm.
putting on vinyls when I cook. My record player's in my kitchen, so that's how we go. And I don't have a speaker in my kitchen other than the record player. So I listen to records if I'm cooking at home, but mostly I'm streaming. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of been a few good releases recently. I've been listening to the new Citizen record, the new Mil Spec record. I've also been listening to a lot of High Vis and
Mhm.
Fiddlehead too.
Great. How do you take care of your health and voice while, especially being on the tour? You guys like having party every night, or maybe you're just too old for that right now? I'm
Yeah.
joking, but how does it look in your case while we're talking about
No,
being on tour?
good. We've actually never been like a huge party band. There's definitely been times where we've been drinking and maybe smoking weed a little heavier than usual, but we're on like a happy medium now.
Mhm.
We drink a little bit before the shows, maybe smoke a little bit, but we're not like partying too hard really. And I think it's definitely the older we've got, the more it's kind of we've kind of wound it in a little bit.
Mhm.
Just because hangovers definitely catch up with you. So most of us, honestly, like West is huge into his running. Our guitar player is like a really big runner. Um, he runs like every day, and our drummer is a runner too. So they go for runs most days, and then I think the rest of us just like try and eat healthily, and that's something that definitely will catch up with you if you're eating really badly on the road. That can be pretty pretty bad. It'll catch up with you eventually. So, sorry, I'm just trying to find a place where I can charge my phone because my phone hasn't been charging this whole time. I'm not sure why, to be honest.
Okay.
Uh, Bear with me, and it's really nearly dead. So, bear with me. But yeah, we just try and look after our health as much as we can. Try and eat healthily, and yeah, try to not get too wasted. If there's a day off, then that's not too bad. But yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me just see if this plug works. This one work. Why is my charger not working? What the fuck? Yeah, sorry, man. My phone is about to go. I thought my phone's been charging this whole time, and it just hasn't. Have you got a charger on you, pals? Yeah. Nah, this one's just not working at all. Sorry, dude.
Not a problem, man. I just actually asked you probably every question that I had. So.
Okay. Sorry, what was that, dude? I might have to. I might have to switch over phones unless we're almost done. I can cram in the last couple questions, maybe.
Yeah. I think we're done. So thank you
Oh,
so much for this amazing
yeah, no worries.
conversation.
Sorry about that. I clicked my phone and I was like, I've got 1% left and it's not charging. So
Okay, not a problem. Thank you so much. Have a great tour.
yeah,
Have a great time. Thanks so much.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see you in Poland. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you, dude. Bye. 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 Bye.